here's a video to talk about my new release, Nursing Home of the Damned. Now this is a proof copy, which means it has the strip on it. It's just how it is for the time being, but it looks pretty cool. It is out on the 27th of August. To be honest, I picked an arbitrary date at the end of August because it's near a payday and most people don't want to buy stuff in the middle of the month. But yeah, Nursing Home of the Damned. Heartwood Retirement Community is a care facility which caters for those with degenerative neurological disorders and traumatic brain injuries. Barbara has Alzheimer's and she intends to make Heartwood her new home. But unlike the other residents, she is not a vampire. So yeah, that is my book, Nursing Home of the Damned. What is it about? Well, it began as kind of like a, oh, that'd be funny. That'd be a nice little stoner idea. And it actually became something a bit more serious, heartfelt, more in line to my normal fiction, to be perfectly honest. It is about, I'm looking off to the side because I've got some notes, just to make my life a little easier, because I don't do videos. As, you know, if you follow me on Instagram or Twitter and stuff, you'll know that. Anyway, so what is Nursing Home of the Damned about? Show the cover again. It is about otherness and grief. So the story starts in the car park of the retirement community where Barbara is insistent on moving out of her family home with her son, because she feels as though she's being a burden, which if you've had family members who have suffered with this condition, you know, it's a normal reaction. And then it follows on with just what happens in the next few days. You know, the staff who worked in the care home, they realise that they've taken in Barbara. Some of them learn that she's not a vampire, and they just, I don't want to spoil it, obviously. You know, it's about how they carry on with life and how she carries on with life with another obstacle. You know, the main characters in the story are, you know, they've got obviously Barbara, her son, Bernie, his wife, Marcy, and part of the story is, you know, Barbara's moved to Heartwood, so they see this as an opportunity to begin their life anew, you know, in the later years. It also features predominantly, I would say, a relationship, a friendship, I should say, between one of the HCAs, one of the nurses, Rosalie, who is a vampire. She's been a vampire for close to 200 years, and then an unafflicted, so a non-vampire HCA that also works in the facility called Timothy, and also a younger vampire who, not long after transitioning, maybe that's not the correct terminology, a few years after becoming a vampire, going through the transfusion process, you know, as law states, and LORE, not LAW. After a few years after he becomes a vampire, has an accident where he suffers a traumatic brain injury. So, although the nursing home is the retirement community, I should say, you'd assume is for retired vampires, or vampires that are significantly older. It actually does feature at least one vampire who is quote-unquote younger but has a brain injury. So yeah, it's got his story in it, which in all honesty is one of my favourite story elements I've ever written. And then yeah, it's the story of how those in the retirement community, what's the word? I'm having a brain fart. How they cope with people entering their community who are outsiders and how they feel threatened from that. I think that's probably the best way of putting it. Yeah. So the writing of the book actually came pretty simple, pretty easy, surprisingly. It came unconsciously, as though all of the subtext and the alternative plots, because there's the story about Barbara moving into the home and her life there. I mean, it takes the whole story itself takes place over the course of about 3 or 4 days. Because you don't need it to be that much longer, to be honest. Because she's not a vampire, but it is a retirement home for vampires, and you can see the conflict there. Writing the book, as I began saying before going off on a tangent, it came quite unconsciously, because there's story elements in there which I've wanted to tackle for years, but I never felt as though I could actually put myself, in that area to talk about them. Vampire as a lead for great allegory. It's one of them things. It's a slice of life story with instances of horror and instances of humour. My mentality going into that was, if you've had friends or family with brain injury or neurological conditions, or things like Alzheimer's, which are horrendous, people do and say funny stuff, denying them that fact, denying someone the fact that they can do say things that are funny. It kind of denies them that they're human, in my opinion. That's up for debate, but anyway. So without further ado, I'm gonna flip the camera around so you don't have to look at my mug for a little bit, and I'll show you more of the cover and the design aspects of the book. Here we go. So here we are. This is Nursing Home of the Damned. So what makes the cover so special? Why did I choose this? Well, as you can see, it's a false set of fangs in denture solution, much like you would expect to find in an old people's home or a retirement community. Obviously, this not for resale nonsense isn't going to be on the final release. I can show you an example in a second of my previous releases. And on the back, I've got a nice little nod to Nosferatu. If you're standing on the shoulders of giants, you need to pay homage to those who come before you. And it's obviously it's a vampire with a bad back. I must give a shout out to my friend Luke Francis, Twisted Abnormality on Instagram. He designs the images that went along with this, and I'm incredibly happy with them. Yeah, so going from the inside, I'm just going to chuck you straight into one because it's there. See a nice little chapter break artwork. It's the design for the front cover and these chapter breaks. They came pretty early in the developmental stage when I had the idea of writing the book. Maybe not quite in line with the story itself now, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm incredibly happy. So yeah, as with all of my releases, I have a trigger warning on the rear, the penultimate page. There's the title page. I think that looks pretty sweet, actually. And then, the story is dedicated to my father-in-law, Mangus. We miss you, man. He passed away May of 2020. And yeah, I really do miss you, man. And then it goes straight into the story. At the rear, obviously, there's, I've got my my afterword talking about where I got the idea from. I've got a thanks section, which is the norm. Got the soundtrack, which is pretty sweet. Quite chuffed with that. A little bit about me, about my other works. and a little teaser for what's coming next year. But yeah, that's Nursing Home for the Damned. Like I said, with this strip front across the top, I'll show you a previous release. So this is one of my previous releases, Love Gun. This is I've got a few more drafts downstairs for the other titles, but I just thought I'd show you this one. So comparing that to a release copy, obviously it doesn't have the strip. Yeah, this one doesn't have a pot of cum on the back. It's, as far as my covers go, my books, I think it fits quite nice. When we compare it spine to spine, it's quite large. Love Gun and Surrogate are the same length, both 90 pages long. Almost Surely is longer because that is a full-length novel. Nursing Home of the Damned is between the two. It's not quite a novel, a little bit longer than a novella. It's about 158 pages long. If you're that interested, the font is in size 12 point and it's Calibri, whereas previous releases were 12 as well. They were, I think this is Times Roman, possibly. I'm not sure. I think that's all, actually. So yeah, that's my book, Nursing Home of the Damned. If it is something you're interested in, because I hope you are, it comes out on August the 27th, which is a Friday. And if you're watching this video prior to the 24th of August and you fancy a signed copy of the paperback, I will be ordering those, so slide into my DMs, as the kids say, or just send me a message on Twitter. It's probably easiest. I prefer Twitter to Instagram and stuff like that, but I still monitor those. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, send me a message, and I think the paperback itself, including postage to the UK, would be £7.99, maybe £8. Well, there's a difference in a penny, but yeah. I'm not too sure about postage to other regions because of Brexit and that bullshit, but I'll look into it if anyone's interested. And yeah, follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, although I don't really use Facebook because it's poo, at Dr. Ulysses. So that's DOCTOR UL double L? No, ULYSSES, Dr. Ulysses. My name's Gavin Jefferson, and I'll speak to you later.